Are you learning English and want to understand the world while improving your language at the same time? Then you are exactly where you need to be. Welcome to English Highlights, the channel where global stories turn into powerful English lessons. Today, we're taking you into one of the most unusual and meaningful Winter Olympics ever held. Not just a sports event, but a moment that forced the world to face climate change, technology, money, and politics all at once. Stay with English Highlights because this story begins with fireworks but ends with serious questions about the future. On February 6, 2026, the Winter Olympics officially began in Italy. The opening night was dramatic and unforgettable. Fireworks lit up the skies above Milan and Cortina. But something even more historic happened. For the first time in Olympic history, two Olympic cauldrons were lit at the same moment. One in the modern city of Milan and another 400 kilometers away in the mountain town of Cortina. The twin flames symbolized a major shift in how the world now hosts the Olympic Games. The Milano-Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics were unlike anything before them. They stretched across more than 22,000 square kilometers, making them the most geographically spread out Winter Games in history. Competitions took place across 8 hubs and 15 venues, ranging from busy city arenas to quiet alpine valleys. Nearly 2,900 athletes from 92 countries traveled to northern Italy to compete in 116 events across 16 sports. A brand new sport, ski mountaineering, made its Olympic debut, adding another layer of excitement. But these games were about much more than medals and records. They became a test of survival for winter sports themselves. As the planet warms, traditional snow-based events face growing uncertainty. These Olympics forced the world to ask difficult questions. Can technology replace natural snow? Is it responsible to host massive sporting events in fragile environments? And who should pay the price to keep winter sports alive? In a divided world, can international competition still unite people, or does it reflect global conflict even more clearly? To understand why these questions mattered so much in 2026, we need to look back a few years earlier. The Winter Olympics were facing a serious crisis. Cities were no longer eager to host them. The reason was simple: money. Hosting the Games had become incredibly expensive, and many governments decided the cost was no longer worth it. Cities like Oslo and Stockholm openly rejected bids for the Winter Games, choosing instead to invest in housing, healthcare, and public services rather than stadiums and temporary villages. The International Olympic Committee saw the danger clearly. Without major reform, the Winter Olympics could lose hosts altogether. In response, the IOC launched a plan called Agenda 2020, a strategy designed to save the future of the Games. Agenda 2020 changed the rules completely. Host cities were encouraged to reuse existing venues, share hosting duties with other cities or even other countries, and reduce long-term environmental damage. The goal was to make the Olympics cheaper, more flexible, and more sustainable. When the bids for the 2026 Games were announced, two main contenders emerged, one from Italy with Milan and Cortina, and another from Sweden with Stockholm and Åre. Both promised greener, cheaper games using mostly existing infrastructure. On June 24, 2019, the IOC made its decision. Italy won. Milan and Cortina were chosen as joint hosts, marking the first time two cities officially shared the Winter Olympics. It was a bold experiment and a real test of Agenda 2020, but it also created a massive challenge. How do you create one Olympic experience when events are scattered across such a vast region? The scale of the Games was unprecedented. From Milan in the west to the Dolomite Mountains in the east, the Olympics covered territory larger than many countries. Milan served as the main hub, hosting ice hockey, figure skating, and speed skating. Cortina, a historic winter sports town, hosted women's alpine skiing and curling. Other events spread across Livigno, Bormio, Anthols, Val di Fiemme, and even Verona, where the closing ceremony took place inside an ancient Roman arena. This approach allowed many communities to benefit from the Olympics and avoided the construction of unnecessary stadiums, but it also brought serious logistical problems. Athletes were often hundreds of kilometers apart. Some missed opening or closing ceremonies. Teams felt divided. Fans struggled to travel between venues, and organizers faced the enormous task of transporting people, equipment, and media across northern Italy every single day. Yet distance was not the most dangerous threat facing these games. The real danger was snow. Winter sports depend on it, and in a warming world, snow is becoming unreliable. Milano Cortina promised to deliver one of the most environmentally responsible Winter Olympics ever. About 85% of venues were already built or temporary, a record for the Games. Organizers focused on reuse, clean energy, and long-term benefits. The Olympic Village in Milan was designed to become housing for 1,700 students after the Games. Temporary homes used in Cortina would be relocated to tourist areas across Italy. Public transport systems were improved, accessibility for people with disabilities was expanded, and local infrastructure received major upgrades. But beneath the perfect white slopes lay a difficult truth. The Games relied heavily on artificial snow to make competitions possible. Organizers planned to produce 2.4 million cubic meters of man-made snow, roughly twice the volume of Rome's Colosseum. To do this, they needed nearly 1 million cubic meters of water. 2 massive reservoirs were built, holding hundreds of millions of liters of water, and more than 120 snow cannons were installed across the mountains. This raised uncomfortable questions. Can an event that depends so heavily on artificial technology truly be considered sustainable? Snow cannons require large amounts of energy and water, both of which are limited resources in alpine environments. Even worse, these machines only work when temperatures are low enough, usually below -2 degrees Celsius. In a warming climate, even artificial snow becomes unreliable. The temperature data tells a troubling story. Since Cortina last hosted the Olympics in 1956, average February temperatures have risen by more than 6 degrees Fahrenheit. Milan has warmed by nearly 6 degrees as well. Natural snow levels have dropped significantly. Freezing days are becoming less common. Scientists warn that by mid-century, nearly half of former Winter Olympic host cities may no longer have reliable snow conditions without heavy technological support. This is not just an Olympic problem. The global winter tourism industry supports millions of jobs and generates billions of dollars. Experts warn that by 2050, losses could reach $30 billion as ski resorts struggle to operate without snow. The Milano Cortina Games became a symbol of this larger crisis, showing both humanity's ability to adapt and the limits of that adaptation. As if climate challenges were not enough, political tensions also entered the Olympic arena. Athletes from Russia and Belarus were allowed to compete only under strict conditions. They were labeled individual neutral athletes with no flags, no anthems, and no team events. A special screening process ensured none had ties to the military or publicly supported the war in Ukraine. These rules sparked debate. Some countries refused to show these athletes on television. Others questioned why military athletes from some nations were treated differently. Behind the scenes, Italian officials reported cyber attacks aimed at disrupting the Games. During ceremonies, crowd reactions reflected global divisions, with some athletes cheered and others booed. The Olympics once again proved they cannot exist separately from world politics. Amid all of this, the heart of the Games remained the athletes themselves. Their stories reminded the world why the Olympics matter.
Lindsey Vonn, at 41, returned to competition after years of retirement and injury, refusing to give up despite another knee setback just days before racing. Mikaela Shiffrin, already one of the greatest skiers in history, returned determined to reclaim Olympic success after disappointment in the previous games. Figure skating fans watched Ilia Moinen push the limits of human ability with record-breaking jumps. Hockey fans celebrated the return of NHL players for the first time since 2014, while new faces shined in the debut of ski mountaineering. Italian athletes carried the hopes of a home nation, and young competitors experienced the Olympic stage for the first time. These moments of courage, resilience, and ambition were the true soul of the Games. But when the final medals were awarded and the twin flames were extinguished, the questions remained. Did this new spread-out model truly work? Can winter sports survive in a rapidly warming planet? And how much longer can technology compensate for what nature no longer provides? The Milano Cortina Olympics were a brave attempt to adapt to a changing planet. They showed innovation, cooperation, and determination, but they also revealed the fragile foundation beneath winter sports. The ice is thinning, the snow is melting, and the future remains uncertain. Now, before you go, I want to hear from you. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing future Winter Olympics? Climate change, costs, or politics? Share your thoughts in the comments because discussion helps everyone learn. If this video helped you understand the world better while improving your English, please like, subscribe, and stay connected with English Highlights. Your support allows us to keep bringing meaningful global stories to your English journey. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.